universe, time, DNA, laws of physics. These are things that are part of our everyday life, and yet we don't realize how little we know about them. To remedy that, at least a little, we bring you 10 extremely fascinating science facts. 1. A grain of sand is halfway between the size of Earth and an atom. This is really a bit of an approximation. Earth's mean radius is 6,371 kilometers. That's 6.371 times 10 to the power of 6 meters. According to the Unified Soil Classification System, the radius of a grain of sand is between 0.037 to 2.38 millimeters, and that's 3.7 times 10 to the power of negative 6 to 2.38 times 10 to the power of negative 3 meters. That makes the Earth 10 to the power of 9, or a billion times bigger than the largest grain of sand. The size of atoms is measured at the scale of picometers, or 10 to the power of negative 12 meters. That makes the largest grain of sand a billion times bigger than an atom. 2. With a glass jar, some rubbing alcohol, and a torchlight, you can build your own particle detector at home. You can do that by building something called a cloud chamber with just a few dollars investment. Take a clean, airtight glass jar. Cut a piece of sponge or felt to fit at the bottom. Secure it with modeling clay and pour at least 90% or more pure isopropyl alcohol, also known as rubbing alcohol, so that it's wet but not dripping wet. Cut a piece of black paper, place it inside the lid, and close the jar. Place the jar lid side down on dry ice and shine a torch from the side of the bottle. After a few moments, you'll see white streaks beginning to appear. These are ionized particles of cosmic background radiation that cause the vapors to condense as they pass. 3. Lasers can get trapped in a waterfall. When light travels from one medium to another, for example, from air to water or vice versa, the change in the medium's properties cause the light to bend. This phenomenon is called refraction. However, if you set the angle of a laser just right and aim it at a non-turbulent stream of water, the light would get trapped, reflecting back and forth inside the water. This phenomenon is known as total internal reflection. That is how optical fibers work too, and diamonds and gems are cut to exploit this phenomenon. 4. Calories are calculated by incinerating food. A calorie is the amount of energy you need to raise the temperature of 1 kilogram of water by 1 degree Celsius, or 2.2 pounds of water by 1.8 degrees Fahrenheit. To calculate this, the food is placed in a sealed container surrounded by water. The food is then electrically incinerated, and the rise in the water's temperature gives the calories. 5. Time passes at different rates depending upon how fast you travel. This might seem like something out of a science fiction movie, but it is a proven fact. It's a phenomenon known as time dilation. Time is a relative quantity. The faster you move relative to an observer, the slower your clock becomes, like the 0.007 seconds time lag astronauts on the ISS experience. This is why relativistic adjustments are made to the time on ISS, and especially on GPS satellites, to correspond to the time on Earth. 6. We share 98.7% of our DNA with chimpanzees. It did take millions and millions of years for life as we know it to evolve. So, strictly speaking, it is not surprising that we share 98.7% of our DNA with chimpanzees, 93% with rhesus monkeys, 90% with cats, 85% with mice, 80% with cows, and 61% with fruit flies. And that's not all. We even share 60% of our DNA with bananas. 7. Water is less dense than ice, and that's why lakes don't freeze solid. When water freezes, the molecules arrange themselves into a structure that leaves a lot of space between them, making it less dense than its liquid form. So, during winter, the surface of the lake freezes first when it gets cold. But, being less dense, the ice just floats and forms a barrier that slows down further cooling of the rest of the lake. 8. Heavier objects don't fall faster, they just fall harder. It's because whatever the mass of an object is, its acceleration is the same during free fall. But the kinetic energy the object accumulates as it falls to the ground depends on its mass. So, if we assume negligible air resistance, both the light and the heavy object reach the ground at the same time when they are dropped from the same height. But the heavy object would gain more energy, and so will hit the ground harder. 9. We live in the past. There's no present. To be more precise, we live almost 80 milliseconds behind the present time, only a little longer than the blink of your eye. It's known as the flash lag phenomenon. The phenomenon can be explained with this visual illustration. Say a dot is moving across the screen, and every time it crosses the center, another dot flashes at exactly the same instant. It may appear as if the moving dot is ahead of the flash. One explanation, according to scientists at the Salk Institute, is that the human brain constructs conscious awareness in an after-the-fact fashion. 10. In theory, if you looked back at Earth from a planet 100 million light-years away, you would see dinosaurs. Even light needs time to travel great distances, and the distance it can travel in a year is called a light year. Now, say you live on a planet in the Andromeda Galaxy. It takes light 2.5 million years to travel there from Earth. So if you look at Earth, you would see the world as it was 2.5 million years ago, when it was early to mid-Stone Age and humans were still hairy. Similarly, if you looked at Earth from a planet 100 million light-years away, you would look at the world as it was during the Cretaceous period, when dinosaurs lived. So, what do you think? If you know any other fascinating scientific facts, let us know in the comments below.
Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this video and would like to see more unbelievable facts, be sure to follow us.